Yeah, I think that I will come around with the mic
Okay.
and hold it for people.
Okay.
And the plan is to do about, 8 minutes of questions now for Irene, then we'll hear from Bryce, and we'll do some questions for him solely, and then for the two of them. Okay? I'll start over here.
Hi. The question I have is, I noticed through your data that the use or the demand for the electricity has gone down over the years.
That's right.
Why? Do you have any data as to what has driven it down?
Yes, it's because of more local generation, more rooftop solar, and more energy efficiency, combined with the recession. But
that says that people are
Right.
using less electricity.
Yeah. The demand
so they
is,
don't need it.
The rate of demand is going down. The rate of peak demand is going up at a higher rate. It's not keeping pace with the overall decrease in demand. Peak demand is still going up.
Okay, since I'm here, I'll do this, but I will roam around the room.
I know people who work at the plant as engineers, and they've made it seem like they've already started working on making the transition physically.
Huh.
So what I'm thinking is that this was a fait accompli, and it was going by so fast that I was surprised that this meeting was going to be going on, since it sounded like it was already happened or happening in the late stages
I would
of
be
happening.
very interested to talk with you afterwards and learn more about this. Thank you.
If people would like to identify themselves, they can. Yeah. Okay, great. Let's find somebody. The other side of the room here.
Could you talk a little bit more about the pipeline? You said there was a pipeline that would go through Dryden, and maybe it would have an alternate route. And so where's that hooked up to? Where's the gas coming from? And a little bit more about the pipeline damage.
NYSEG has gas through Dominion pipelines, and there are major interconnects in Freeville and somewhere north of Auburn. I haven't mapped them out. There is right now, there are people in Dryden who have received a notice of easement request for a pipeline through Dryden. I've not been able to confirm whether or not this is related to the power plant. It's possible that there may be an attempt to do what's called segmentation, which is to put in part of it now under the pretext of we need it for this business park development or this residential thing that they want to put in Lansing. But once they get the right of way, then if and when green light for repowering, they can then put the pipeline through. But at this point, I've not been able to confirm that this is related to the power plant. And in fact, my contacts at NYSEG have indicated that if Cayuga were to do the repowering, that Cayuga would be responsible for getting the easements and doing the pipeline. And I know that this easement came from NYSEG directly. So it may be that it is, at least for now, truly for the business park or residential or whatever it is.
This is great. People are doing a great job of keeping their questions short and informational.
Could you just comment on...
But I've been asked to have you stand up.
Okay. Could you just comment on the stability of jobs if there's this very episodic and seasonal opening and closing?
Yeah, I've looked into that a bit. The question was, the microphone didn't seem to be so great, what the stability of the jobs for the laborers would be given that the plant wouldn't be doing much. What I've learned is that there's, because it's the old steam generator, there's still quite a bit of maintenance that needs to be done, and checking and safety checks and that sort of thing that would go on every day. I don't know how many, again, of the workers would be laborers versus administrators. Administrators have to be, watching the energy markets to know it. So, yeah, I don't know, but apparently there is some work to be done. I also have learned that there would be the need for at least one security person because of Homeland Security issues. So some of those laborers may be, or some of the workers may be security.
Joyce Lovelace from Neighbors United for the Finger Lakes. For this power plant or the others that this has applied to, is there any information on, if they are shut down, a possibility of jobs in deconstruction and environmental remediation?
Those, in fact, are possibilities. We don't know the details of it, but yes, that is absolutely a possibility of what could happen. One of the tougher questions is who pays for that deconstruction and remediation. You know, you can almost guess, given the history, that this little shell corporation will declare bankruptcy and go belly up before they clean up their mess. So it'll be another fight.
One more jobs question. I was a little surprised when you said that transmission upgrades would not produce any jobs. Do
I didn't
power
say they
lines
wouldn't-
grow?
Yeah, I didn't
But-
say they wouldn't produce any. I said they don't produce as many. Yeah, there will be construction jobs with power line construction, but just not as many as if there were pipeline and some sort of retrofitting or reconstruction at the plant.
Hi, Ellen Harrison. I was curious as to whether there's been projection of the tax implications of the repowering. If they're producing so little energy, so little of the time, are the taxes tied to that in some way? Would it change the taxes?
The taxes are directly tied to the revenues of the plant, and this was very interesting for me to learn about, that as compared to, say, a pizza shop, the property tax there has to do with how much you can rent the space for if the pizza shop closes up. But the property taxes for a very unique kind of installment like this are directly related to the revenues that it's able to produce. There would be, if it closed down, there would be some residual calculation for the amount of property that they own and some tax for that, but mostly it is related to the revenues. So the lower level of revenues, I believe that the predictions for the revenues for this plant were 40 to 50. It took probably about 10 years for it to climb up to 60 million, which is the estimated revenues that they gave in their pilot agreement for this year, which is the lowest end of their tax payments. So it would be lower than that for the next 10 years.
Okay, we're not going to have time for everybody in this section, but we will have another question and answers session, and I'll take a few more here.
I guess the import power alternative as opposed to the repower, what would be the environmental footprint of that power?
Well, that's, you know, remember I talked about having myths and facts and stuff? That was one of the questions. That's been put out many times, so excuse me while I scroll through and find that myth and fact. And learn which button to push yet again. So myths and facts. So one of them was that one's, we know the answer to that. We know the answer to that. That there would be a loss of 300 megawatts of energy to consumers in the area. This is, again, during peak of summer last year. Here is our area. This is the peak generation that occurred here, the peak load that we had. This is the capacity that we have in this region, load zone C. So we've got tremendous capacity, and in fact, we funnel our capacity both to the west, to Rochester, and then also to the east, to the Albany and then downstate regions. So there's overall not really a concern about needing power. But having said that, there is the question of, are we going to be importing power from other places? Well, there actually, all of this is very, there's layers and layers of different organizations that exist and agencies that exist. And one of them is the North America Energy Reliability Consortium of interconnections. And so you can see here that New York is in the yellow zone, which means that our primary partners for reliability needs come from the New England area, which predominantly uses gas, or from Hydro-Quebec, which is largely hydro, although also, truth be told, a lot of nuclear as well. Secondarily, we do have compacts with the what's called the PJM region to import power from them as well, but not as much. And what can be seen, I took this a few days ago. It was kind of a cool morning. Oh, how much we long for those now, right? And this is updated every 5 minutes on the New York ISO's website, Independent Systems Operators website. They're in charge of maintaining the grid, making sure that there's juice where it's needed, when it's needed. They have top level technology that measures what's happening in the grid every 6 seconds. They update this website every 5 minutes, and it's a very dynamic thing. So this was a cool morning. There was not any peak demand going on. And so here's the various amounts that were being produced in various areas. But what you can see here is that even though there was no peak demand happening, we were bringing in power from the PJM, the Pennsylvania region. We were bringing in a lot more power from Hydro-Quebec. And this is where it gets really fun. We were bringing in some power from New England, but we were also sending some to them as well. What this has to do with is pricing. And bottom line, this is a very financially driven industry, and wherever you get the best price is where you buy your power from.
So,
Okay,
Irene.
so I can turn that off. Other questions? Or
I think there are a lot of more questions out here
But we're
on
at
jobs. I think we're out of time if we
Okay.
also want to get to hear from Bryce.
Okay.
And so we can come back to some of these.
Okay.
A big round of applause for Irene, though.
Great.